Hi, I'm John Burr. I'm the chair of the Armory Park Historic Zone Advisory Board, and I'm calling the board meeting, the meeting to order at 6:45 p.m. per code. We've got most people on. We're expecting Pat O'Brien to join us momentarily. Michael, would you like to go ahead and do roll call and leave Pat till the end?
Yes. John Burr,
Present.
Tom Beer,
Present.
Maurice Roberts,
Present.
Sarah Batman. Those are all I got for now. Am I forgetting anybody?
Yes.
Helen Erickson.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. So we're starting with one.
No, there's also Stan Schumann.
Oh, Stan. Sorry. Was the first person to be here. Present. Okay, so we're starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes, and Pat should be joining us for a total of 7.
Thank you.
Okay, item 2, approval of minutes. This is my fault. I thought I had gotten them done and I didn't. So I will get those to Michael tomorrow so that they can be the drafts so that they can format them. It was a very quick meeting. There were 4 of us. There was a single case. It was for a fence at Armory Park Center. And we just requested that the setbacks meet the development zone standards of 2 feet back from the sidewalk in both directions and no screening on the fence. Plans review, I believe, will be looking at that fairly straightforward case on the 24th, but we will have to approve officially an LAR at our next meeting in November, which I anticipate we'll be having whether we have cases or not, because there's some other stuff, housekeeping we need to do now that we know that we're going to be here for a while. Okay, item number 3, call to the audience. Were any comments received by you?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Then we will move on to reviews. Item number 4, A is SD 1023-00110 343 South Scott. Proposed exterior work including removal of exterior metal stairs, window repair, and restoration. Full review, contributing resource, estimated time 30 minutes. The link on the city website did not work for the SHPO file, so I sent that and the Armory Park records around to the board earlier so that they could be familiar with the property a little bit. And let's go ahead and turn it over to our guest this evening. And just for the record, what are your names?
I think Morgan is joining from a location that doesn't have very good service. I don't know if he's going to be able to get off of mute.
Okay. What is Morgan's last name?
Morgan Abraham.
Abraham. Thank you.
And then my name is Kevin Volk.
Kevin Volk. Thanks, Kevin.
Welcome.
I take it you're going to be doing the presentation.
Yes.
Volk.
And
okay.
Actually, I've had some internet issues too. So please let me know if you can't hear me at any time.
All right, Michael should be able to pull up anything for you that we need to view as part of your presentation. Michael, do you have some commentaries you want to make?
No, I am making him the co-host so you can share your screen.
Okay, I'll do that.
You should be able to share now.
Nice to meet everyone virtually. I thought at first I was the only one. I thought it was one of the many times that I've had issues with virtual meetings. So I was glad to know that there was a real reason for it. And it wasn't just me.
No, it happens all the time. In fact,
I had to take a recent meeting from with my laptop in my car using my phone's hotspot, and that there was nothing wrong with that link. So This is going much better already. So Michael, I have co-host
Yeah,
privileges. Okay. I'm going to bring up the PDF. It's in a PowerPoint mode as well, but I think PDF is a little easier.
got it.
Visible?
Yeah,
Great. And again, please let me know if the audio drops off. It happened a couple days ago. So my name is Kevin, born and raised in Tucson. And we are discussing what we call the Glenwood, built as Hotel Glenwood at 343 South Scott Avenue. Get right into the history of the project as we know it.
I
Built
think
in
it's parcel B.
I'm sorry?
When I looked at the assessor's site, it's 044B
That sounds right.
rather than A.
Yes, that sounds right. I believe that's right. Do you want me to verify that real quick?
No, it's just,
yeah,
Okay.
I thought I'd mention it.
No, appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't want to steal anyone's property, and we definitely don't want anyone to steal this property. So built in 1908. It's on book 1, page 1, which I love, which is probably not uncommon for Armory Park properties. It was originally a hotel. We've actually had someone stop by who used to work the phones as a little girl when her parents owned and operated it. Sometime later, it was converted to multifamily use, apartment complex. And then in the 1988 to 1993 time period, it was converted again from multifamily to office use. For about 20 years, as you probably all know, it was occupied by the Arizona Theater Company until financial pressures before COVID and then COVID brought their staff down to the point where it was being used by 3 people. And so they decided to sell the underutilized property from their perspective. It was a very competitive bidding process, 25 tours, 10 bids roughly. And we were thrilled to get it. This was in 2021. We didn't have occupancy for actually a number of months thereafter. Arizona Theater Company had requested time to move out. So I want to preface this whole presentation by saying that there have been exterior changes that we've done to the property. We intended them to be historically based, but they never should have happened without going through this process. It is our fault that we are at this process, going about it in the retroactive way. We tried and weren't able to hire an architect with historic background, and we kind of failed to educate ourselves in what warranted what review and what didn't. We also had some miscommunications with contractors and among our partnership. And so want to just call that out and say that that's not something that we wanted to be in the position where we are now. We had a code enforcement, which actually alerted us to some changes that were being made to the property by our partner, who is kind of our interior design partner, but then had gone and started making some exterior changes. So when we found out about that, we reversed those changes back to the original condition. And I kind of stepped into this role of getting up to speed on historic. We also hired Tim Kinney, a land use attorney with historic experience, who is not able to be here. He's at the city council meeting tonight. So I just want to say that we are sorry for not going through this process in the way that we should. We've done a lot of research. We love the history of this property, and we've put a lot of historic thought into everything, but we didn't take it to the process in the way it should have been. And so at this point, we're just trying to see how we can make things right going forward, working with the staff and working with you all on the board. So that So going back to kind of the story of our involvement, we purchased the building because of its architecture and its history and its presence. We've done a lot of work to the interior on a separate work permit. That includes a lot of really fun stuff like restoring the original door hardware and restoring about 30 original doors, which I know isn't relevant to historic relative to the exterior changes, but it's been a fun process. Finally, we played around with different ideas of what to do with the property. We bought it just knowing that we loved it, but not knowing what we wanted to do with it. We felt like the idea of larger units rather than, small apartment units was more appropriate to the neighborhood, fit in with the neighboring uses. And so we're converting it to 6 residential units, one of which I will be occupying. And I've lived on Scott Avenue twice before in the San Carlos apartments and across the street in Ramona Court. I think it's the best neighborhood and best street in Tucson. And I'm very biased, but that's kind of the story of our purchase. I'll get into the exterior photos. Just a gorgeous building. This is what we fell in love with. That's the west elevation along Scott Avenue. This is southwest at the intersection, going around to the south elevation of the property, and then coming to the southeast. We had these photos taken pretty much right away just to kind of document the building. The photographer was not able to get the angle needed for elevations, so apologies, but these are my camera cell phone elevations that I took at the time. And then that's the north part of the east elevation. And then what you can see of the north elevation, it's about a foot away from the neighboring property. Here is the site plan. This is actually from the 1988 plans. It's hard to see.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to point out that Pat O'Brien joined us at 6:57 p.m.
I'm slow, but I'm sure.
Great. Sorry. Back to you, Kevin.
No problem. So this is the 1988 site plan. It's a little hard to see. The plan copies aren't perfect, but essentially the site plan has remained ever since, with the U-shaped building and the courtyard that's in the position shown on the inset to the right. Actually, with a little bit of modification, they rounded out this corner. Here's an aerial view of the property showing that same site plan. Here's the development zone, basically along this T intersection of Scott Avenue and 14th Street, from Stone to 6th Avenue. And then here are some contributing properties. And please let me know if you want me to go slower or faster. This is across Scott Avenue, just on the west side of the street. Actually involved in the ownership of this property on the right, 340 South Scott Avenue. As I said, really love Scott Avenue. And this property, as well as the Casita Court that fronts Stone Avenue. So we love this. This is just the best street. Obviously, here's the Arizona Theater Company's facility, Temple of Music and Art. Another gorgeous building. This is the McCormick Carriage House and associated properties, that entrance. And then this is 260 South Scott Avenue, the clinic property. Now going from the east side of Scott Avenue, immediately north of the property, and working our way north, these are the adjacent residential buildings. And then another one in the famous Michigan office and residence, and another office building. And then what's become part of the San Carlos apartment complex on 13th Street. And My old apartment is just to the right of that photo on the left. This is the north elevation, and then we start going down. This is actually 6th Avenue, so those labels are wrong. I apologize. Office building, and then residential, both single family and multifamily. Let me get down to the 14th Street again, and this is the multifamily property with a separate building across the alley from the subject property. This is the arts building, west, north, and east elevation. And then this is Brady Court. Oh, sorry. This is the part of the liquor store property on the corner of 14th Street and Stone. So just wanted to reference all of the historic guidelines as it relates to this property. We are proposing and have completed no additions, no new construction. We're maintaining the size, style, and materials of all doors and windows and using the same doors and windows. No new security bars. Material and texture to match the original always. No exposed block. No modification to chimneys. No modification of the roof line. We love the parapet. On the porch, this may or may not be considered a porch. I think oh no, it is, sorry. We restored a historic window in an arch which enclosed a small 2nd-story porch, and we'll get to that in more detail. All the other porches remain. No changes to architectural detail. The rear wall was temporarily demolished and will be restored, and we'll get to that as well. The mechanical equipment will not be visible from the street based on that great parapet we have. No new fences, no new exterior landscaping. The property fronts right on the sidewalk, so there's really not an opportunity. I should say we did, after months of trying to get the city to replant 2 of those trees that were in front of the property. Parking is located in the rear on the alley, just as it always has been, for Arizona Theater Company. And then the historic sign is remaining exactly as it is. So our first proposed change is to paint the exterior of the building. This was the first thing we noticed. These colors are pretty clearly from the 1980s. A really crisp white, bright blue, and a neutral or blue gray that doesn't have the warmth that's more typical of historic. Our design partner is a design expert, but we still wanted to do the research to make sure that we were coming up with historically based colors. Also, relating to paint, there are a number of areas of stucco repair needed. Stun damage, as you can imagine. I think over the years, Arizona Theater Company was occupying, but didn't have a lot of excess budget for maintenance, and so there were some pretty bad chips and cuts and all sorts of things, and that includes the door and window frames. Some with different conditions: sun damage, broken, nailed shut, rotted, sometimes very fragile glass or even broken glass. These are just a couple of examples. Obviously, the tree wearing on the southeast corner was particularly bad. And that's probably a fairly average for the windows that are flush to the elevation. So our proposal is to restore the existing stucco and fill cracks, which much of which we have done, repair windows where possible, and in cases where that's not possible, replace with wood frame historic styles, which we haven't had to do. finally paint the building in historically based colors. So we actually, or the design partner had experience with Dunn Edwards, and they are a Western-based company that actually is very proud of their history. So we selected from within their historically accurate color collection based on historical colors within the American West specifically. So that was a great resource. So these are our colors. The top one is to replace the current, I would say, Arctic white. The pewter platter is a warm gray for the bas relief, to call out those architectural elements in the same way the current light gray does. And then the gray foundation at the bottom will be the barnwood gray. And then the dark blue, kind of dark slate blue, would be the entry doors and trim, kind of to replace the bright blue that currently exists.
I assume you're gonna use the same color on the metalwork.
That's a great question. Actually, the color on the metalwork will be the dark gray. To kind of, that is an element that's probably practical. Those metal work pieces and those bars and those railings. It's not, the building certainly didn't have it at earlier periods. So we were kind of trying to have that fade in a little bit, or fade away, be toned down, if you will, as an architectural element of the presentation of the building. So the metalwork would be the barnwood gray.
Great.
That's a great question. So then, this was just part of our research, but I just wanted to highlight it because we like historic and we like color. And it turns out that Dunn Edwards did a pretty good job, from what we can tell from the resources we found, on colors from the early 1900s. So the bottom left image is purportedly a color page from an old Sears Roebuck and Company catalog from 1918. And then Sherwin-Williams did their own heritage colors, kind of a similar effort. And so, while not exact, the Dunn Edwards colors definitely correspond with those. As I said, paint was the first thing we saw, and something we are so excited about, because we're not stepping very far away from the current colors in terms of value, how dark or light they are, and then where they are. It'll still be the main color, the color for the bas relief, the color for the trim, the color for the kind of the visible foundation, but they're going to be warmer, more accurate, more authentic, and I think the building will present in a much more historic way than it currently does. So we're really excited about that. This is number 2, and John, or Chairman, I wanted to make sure, do you want me to just keep on going and then I can come back to any point of the presentation later?
Yeah, go ahead and do your presentation. Obviously, that window is going to be a topic of consideration because it wasn't there in April, and it's there now.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah. So when we got the property, we saw that this window had been there, or a window had been there. Windows missing. There's brick on the inside of the arch carved out from where it was removed. The SHPO inventory sheet details this for the porch arcade infill windows. Goes into detail about the kind of design of the windows and the construction, plain side trim, wood, and obviously single pane glass, which all the glass is. And so this is we'll get back to this elevation, but this is the change in elevation, and then we'll get to photos. So the first on the left is the view from underneath the window, and then the second image is the view from behind where the window was. And so you can see that image had to be brightened for, so you could see that portion of it, but you can see where there was a change in the plaster from the interior to the exterior of the building. This is the oldest image we can find of the building from 1955. And the window is there. This is something that the Arizona Theater Company gave us. It was an old Tucson commercial photographer who took it, Elizabeth Kozowski, back in 1955. And then we actually got this postcard from eBay. And this was a postcard that someone who had stayed there back in 1962 wrote to their friends about their visit to the Glenwood Hotel in Tucson. Very, very cool little piece of history. But anyway, so you can see the window is filled in here as well, wood trim window in that opening. So we've restored the window to the original location. It's a single pane wood frame construction, but as John, as you mentioned, or Chair, as you mentioned, we'll absolutely discuss that. And then moving on to the third one. After the paint, the thing that struck us as most obviously non-historic were the metal and concrete stairs. We believe they were used for additional access during the office building conversion in 1988. They were not original to the building. That's seen from the construction and from the 1924 City of Tucson aerial, which we'll see. The construction-wise, metal and concrete, and then the stair enclosure, the stairs and the stair enclosure kind of block two of the original historic windows. Actually, I'll start with this image. These stairs, it's a little hard to tell from this angle, but crossed, and this isn't a very large window, crossed diagonally across basically the entire window. And then this window doesn't get any light or have any visibility. It still does get some light, but it's basically completely blocked visibility wise. Other clues, this whole piece is wood frame construction, unlike all the rest of the building, which is triple or double brick. This wall runs right into the bas relief here. And then this bas relief here doesn't correspond to the way that everything else is framed. This is the 1924 elevation where you can see the U-shaped property in its configuration, but there is no stair assembly to get up to that area. These are the east elevations. This is something we had discussed with our contractor, and unfortunately, this wasn't the only time this happened. Interior, to a lesser extent, exterior. They kind of got started on it early, and yeah, and there was just unfortunately nothing to be done once they cut it off. So we finished it, but again, something that should have gone through this review. Even though it's kind of on the alley, I know that the street front distinction is not a universal or not a complete distinction between historic review and not. So the intention was to keep the balcony surface in the same footprint and then replicate the architectural design of the rest of the building. So we'll see this elevation again. This is from the east, from the alley. As mentioned before, this is another thing that happened right at the start of the project. Contractor took down this wall to get a trailer in, and we said, okay, you will have to rebuild it. And so they're going to rebuild this wall. It is from the 1988 site plan. It was a new courtyard wall then, but we will restore it with the original gate. And then you can see the parking lot along 14th Street as well. This is back to the west elevation. We did have to replace some glass down here because it was broken and it's right on the street. We replaced it with single pane, reassembled with Doug fir wood and glazing as we did everywhere else. This is the wood framed single pane glass window that we restored in this arch. This is the east elevation showing the stairs as they were, calling out a couple of restoration things we did. The bird vents were all rotted. The wood was rotted and worn. We replaced them. We recreated them in wood and in the same style. There were some broken windows and windows that needed frame repair. And so again, what we do, or what our contractor does very good at, is taking the windows apart, replacing with, I believe it's 1/8 inch single pane, replacing the glazing, rebuilding the parts of the frame that need rebuilding with Doug fir wood when necessary, and then, excuse me, putting them back in. Here's the elevation without the wall and with the wall. You can see that the first smaller historic window is visible again, and has light coming in and visibility to in and out of it for the first time, or for again. And then you can see the balcony footprint is the same, but that elevation just continues down. And then we continued the bas relief vertically and horizontally. This is that same image, east elevation from the alley, showing both both kind of the with the enclosure and then without the stair enclosure. This is the elevation within the courtyard looking north. So the kind of the elevation is very similar from this angle. Same thickness, only the bas relief is consistent with the rest of the property. This is on the left, still in the courtyard looking south at the north elevation. We replaced a window there. On the south elevation, this might be the worst damage beyond the windows. The side light pieces of the doors were termite damaged. We had pest control come in early and identify those as termite damage. So those will be restored exactly as they were, with wood and with Doug fir wood and detail. Okay, that's the end of the presentation. That's just unrelated, but
I have a question on the south elevation. Could you go
yeah.
back? South elevation on the existing second floor of the window furthest to the right. It looks like there's a second window right next to it. What is that?
You know, that is a draftsman error. That, I'm sorry, this must not be the updated image. I can pull that up, but that has since been fixed.
All right.
Sorry about that. Oh, and then again, this is not related to this meeting, but not often do you have historic property buffs all in one place. So just thought that was cool. The old hardware that we've been assembling and cleaning and reusing. But anyway, happy to go back to any point of the presentation.
All right, I'll pop in before I turn it around. Just for the record, this is a zoning violation that was turned in June. The wall that's described as demolished and will be restored. I love your wording, but it's kind of funny. A section of it, the south part of it with the gate went out first, and then it's now been shot back even farther. But you are correct. It's the 1988 concrete block wall, so it should be easily restorable. It's not an historic feature. The palm tree is showing up in the 1924 aerial, and I think was one of the original Washingtonian palms that was planted around 1908. I hope you're keeping the two palm trees in the back courtyard.
Yep.
Okay. This is kind of a
I'm sorry, when was that? That you can see the palm tree?
the 1924 aerial shows the palm tree.
Oh, cool.
And it is listed on the National Register listing, so it's an historic palm, so please try to keep it going. we like the really old ones.
Absolutely. It kind of stopped growing at around second floor window height. So
that's their max height. And
okay.
And then they grow very, very, very slowly thereafter until they die at about 400 years old.
Oh my God.
Under optimum conditions.
But we've had landscapers in to help keep that trim.
So just for the record, they did get it went through a minor review when Martha was doing this, when they were replacing the HVAC units. They were keeping an original stairwell clerestory skylight and adding 7 more, which don't appear to be on the roof, and those may be done at a later date, but they'll be behind the parapet, all the other stuff. It got turned in because of the enclosed porch on the west side and the demolition of the wall, to my understanding, back in June. This property is kind of funny. We do have better records of it. In 1908, if you were to, can you go back to the 1962 postcard?
Sure.
That's a good image. The 2/3 of the building to the right with 2 archways and then the archway framed by 2 windows was built in 1908. It was exposed brick. The 3-arch 2-story addition to the north was added in 1921. The assessor's 1930 is an average of 1908 to the 1993 restoration of the building and turning it into offices. We can send you that file. I didn't have your email before, but
no, that's fascinating.
We have a little better records than the city does on a lot of these properties.
Cool.
And the historic information that's also available on the pro site is kind of fascinating. So the first floor windows in the very left, within those 3 arches, that permit was for 1958, and that's when that was enclosed. No one knows when that window on the second floor on that porch was closed in, but it has been open for over 50 years, and it was originally designed to be open. And it was open this April, and the window you have designed and installed is new, so we do have to review it for compatibility issues, just for clarity.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this building's been toyed with a lot over 115 years, so it's kind of hard to wrap around. I do want to thank you for trying to do the right thing historically and trying to restore all the stuff that's there. I have a feeling you'll be coming back asking for storm windows or interior storm windows to get some better insulation and a few other things down the road. The color charts are kind of fascinating. Just an historical note, true white was not invented until about 1925.
Oh, is that on one of their color palettes?
No, that's just a fact that I retain because I'm like that.
I did think it was interesting relative to your point on the downstairs arches that, when I first saw this postcard, I thought, oh, that's the same as our photograph. And it took me a while to realize that no, actually, as you mentioned, it had to be in this time period.
Yeah.
1958 makes a lot of sense because those arches were not enclosed back then. But this
They were
one,
filled in and the door was put flush within the arch. And then in the 1988 to 93 remodel, that center doorway was pushed back and created another entry court that mirrors the one farther
Mhm.
to the south on that facade. But during the entire period of significance, that second story arcade has been open on either side of the tinkering into a boarding house, just for the record. So I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to ask Stan to weigh in on this one because I kept seeing his name pop up on the records from the 93 edition. So I'm opening it to board for comments and then I'll do some follow-up. Stan, thoughts?
Yes, I was involved with the project when they converted it to offices back in the late 80s. I don't remember exactly when it was. It's like 35 years ago. So my memory isn't exactly clear on everything that we did, but I do remember that the outside was pretty much a monotone at the time when we got finished. Any records we found were very similar to the photographs that that you see here. There was very little color usage on the exterior. So my sense of what we had accomplished at that time was taking it back to its original color as close as possible. Other than that, we did very little on the outside. And most of the work obviously was inside because we were converting it to office spaces. Other than that, I don't know that I have any comments on what has being presented here. I think that actually you're doing a very good job, and it looks like you're being very considerate of the historicity of the project and maintaining a lot of the architectural details and appearances. So at this point, I don't know that I have any other questions except for the usage of the color on the outside. I wasn't clear where that dark blue was going, but your presentation cleared that up, and it appears it's only being used on the doorways, the main doorways. Is that correct?
That's correct. And actually, to your point about, well, actually, at first, this is fascinating. You'd said that your recollection after the 1988 conversion was that it was somewhat more monotone versus what it is today, which is white, blue, gray.
Right.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And we've seen in different parts of the neighborhood, sometimes the architectural features are painted differently, sometimes they are monotone. But I further to your point of kind of toning down the bright blue, we're actually doing the doors and trim, I should have clarified this earlier, as kind of the lighter gray color. So only select doors like this main entrance door here, which is the entrance to a residence. And this door here will be that dark blue, that dark slate blue.
Is there a reason for using that? I mean, do you have any evidence? I can't imagine that I don't remember whether or not the original doors, the main exterior doors, were salvaged during our restoration. So I can't put a figure on whether or not that original color of the door would have been investigated. But normally, what we've done on past historic preservations is that we usually sand down a circle down to the bare wood where you can get a sense of what the original colors were, and that's what we always tried to maintain when we were doing historic restoration projects. So I don't know where are you coming from on the blue on the doors, on the main doors.
Can we pause for a second? Because I just want to note that we as this board don't have any jurisdiction over color actually, except for roofs. So I appreciate that you're sharing all the colors and everything, but I do want it noted that that's not part of our jurisdiction.
Okay, fair enough. And
actually, I will clarify.
It's not a huge issue, and it's not an issue that I would have a tendency to object to, but I just.
We won't rule on the colors, but we may consider the colors as part of an application for a project, especially if they're presented.
And we trying to find it in my phone. But we actually did all the doors were restored. It looks very green in my phone, just got it, but we did find, and I don't know how clear this is going to come out. This is the bright blue, but this is a darker greenish blue or bluish green. So this was kind of where we got that color.
That's fairly typical. Green was a standard color that was available and was used on dozens of houses in Armory
Right.
Park at the time. And typically in the original period, most buildings, different materials were different colors. So all the doors, windows, and frames would have been a painted color, and the masonry, if it was stuccoed, would be another color, and accents would be a third color. But we probably aren't going to comment, except it appears you look like you are doing appropriate historical research on the building to come up with a historically compatible color chart, but let's not focus on color.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, thank you. That's fascinating, really. And to your point earlier, Stan, all the doors, all the original doors are there in the interior. So they were all used as part of the offices, and we've done tens of hours of work to restore those as well. And we're reusing every single interior door, and that's why we've done all that stuff on the hardware. So thankfully, nothing was lost in that remodel. The original wood floor got covered up and went through some damage, but we're trying to restore that too. But I know that's
the
not
one thing
really-
I'd like to say is that I'm glad to hear the use of Douglas fir on the windows, because that is the normal type of wood that was used. It stands up much better than a lot of the pine and the other woods that I've seen used in the neighborhood. So I'm glad to hear that. And I think if you can get your contractor to find as much vertical grain Doug fir as you can, it would stand up a lot longer.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, is that it for comments on the proposal from you, Stan?
Yeah, I have no objections to what's being presented here. I would approve as submitted.
Okay. We're going to go around. Helen, you want to go next?
Yes, I think this is a great project, really. And I'm very happy that you're keeping the palms, because those are often missed when people are looking at historic property. So congratulations on that. I think you found good solutions, and compliment you on your research and interest.
Thank you. I have to say, as a Tucson boy, seeing a tree that tall is a little scary, because I grew up with, nothing taller than mesquites. But especially with this conversation, I'm glad we kept the palms.
Yeah, they're old. They're very old. Tom?
Yeah, I pretty much want to echo what the others have said. Kevin, you seem to be doing a really nice, thoughtful job on this, and I thank you for that. It's wonderful to see somebody come in and not only do a thoughtful job of restoration, but live in the place as well, which sort of ensures that sort of thoughtfulness will continue. The only question I have is how did you get building permits from the city without going through a review? Didn't anybody at any point say, hey, this needs a historic review?
Just
Yeah, that's where
for
our
clarity, the only permits that they have received so far is for mechanical equipment on the roof, which was a HPZ minor review, and all the rest have been interior, not encompassing the exterior.
Okay, so the exterior work was done without permits of any kind.
Yes.
Okay, that was just wondering how that happened.
That's how that happened.
Yeah, it's a
They
combination.
moved outside.
Well, certainly in the case with one person, we were trying to keep inside, and she was very apologetic. But the scope was inside, and that certainly moved outside, and that we were able to tackle. But there were some things that that were not in that category. But thank you for your comments.
Sarah,
I'll echo what everybody else has been saying. Really appreciate your attention to detail, looking up all the records, replacing and repairing with historically accurate materials, and really doing your homework on everything. Not everyone can find a contractor that can actually repair windows. So that's quite a gift that you're able to do that.
That's the one thing they do extremely well. What they don't do is necessarily wait for things to go in the order that we need them to go, but they are excellent at that and have done a number of historic projects, which is why we chose them. But sorry to interrupt. Some things they do very well, some things they don't. But thank you.
But yeah, just really appreciate the attention to detail, and it's beautiful repairs. I'm glad you're living there.
Well, thanks. And I can't wait for it to get out of this stage, which is the ugliest stage. If you take a photo from across the street, you don't see the stucco repair. And then if you stucco repair it, you see the stucco repair. So I was looking at the before photos and saying, why do these look so much better than the property right now? And I realized it's because it doesn't look like a spotted cow with all the repair and the primer and everything. But really looking forward to getting back to Scott Avenue. I'm Midtown now, and I've been wanting to get back for quite some time.
all right, Maurice, you're next.
Okay, well, I'm gonna be like the others, and then I'm gonna congratulate you on a well-going job. I think you're doing pretty good. Okay, I know we started speaking about that window on the second floor, the one that did not have a frame originally. So does it currently have a frame, or it doesn't have a frame anymore?
Let's go back to that elevation.
God.
Yeah, the one that
That one
the
right
second
there.
window.
So
Yeah.
just for the record, that was still open in April. It was enclosed by the contractors. That is the window that has been installed and is existing now for the last number of months. That probably was one of the items that triggered the zoning violation report to the city, because that was enclosed without review. But that is what the window that they have crafted looks like on site today. I went by.
Okay.
So that's their design of what they're proposing that we approve to allow to go into that second story opening that they wish to enclose, because even though it's not part of our review, they're going to be putting a bathroom with a bathtub there. So I expect it will probably be covered up with blinds a lot of the time.
True. Okay.
Maybe
Well, that was my main question, but I like your project. I think you're doing really good. Okay, and I'm very happy. I have a number of properties within 2 blocks of this particular properties, and I like your addition to the neighborhood. I think this is very cool. I'm just curious, but there's going to be 6 apartments in there, correct? 6 condos.
Yes, 6 condos.
What's the average square footage of each one going to be?
Sorry.
I'm just curious.
That's a great question. So that was quite
10,000 square feet divided by 6, except one of them is really small. One of them is really big. The plans are available separately on the website for the interior model that was approved and permitted, Maurice, if you want to see the floor plans.
Well, John, you make it sound so easy.
I'm happy to send you it. I downloaded it earlier so I could figure out what was going on.
So that was quite a process. You have a U-shaped building that has a number of interior bearing walls. I'll just forgive the speed, but I'll go up to the aerial. And oh man, there are a lot of slides.
Yeah, the biggest apartment is apartment number 4, which is basically the whole south side.
So you basically got one here in that little section, one here, one in this white area, and then number 4 is the entire south elevation, and then number 3 is in here, and then number 5 is a really small one, 940 square feet. So that's our smallest, but it does have an incredible basement of almost 300 square feet with a mountain rock. It is, at first it was full of utilities and it was just totally junky. And I looked at it and thought, okay, here are the utilities. And then later we realized we could remove some of those utilities and really open it up. So it's actually similar to the property we have across the street, 336 Scott Avenue, has a small basement with a mountain rock.
That one's going to be your apartment.
That one's actually not. That's going to be someone who's got, it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, so it's kind of a unique unit. It's going to be very cool though.
If you want to see a picture of that, it's available on the assessor's site.
Oh, great.
Yeah, the basement shows up there.
Oh, in its previous state.
No, well, the photo was taken on the 14th of April this year.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah, it's really cool.
Are there going to be 2 stories apartments?
2 stories. Yeah, when I say basement, it's storage. It's not livable space.
I'm sorry. I mean, are they going to have indoor stairs coming from one floor to the next?
Yep.
That's one reason they're removing the exterior staircase, because they're having interior staircases and access to each unit from the inside with a first ground floor entrance door.
This is going to be very cool. Again, congratulations. Good job.
Thank you. They are going to be really cool. It's been a lot of work, but they will be cool.
Okay, Pat, comments?
We're just probably echoing what everybody else had to say. It was a clear, precise presentation. The documentation was sound. And I wish we had projects like this in presentation. I'm really pleased, and I'm glad you're working with the building.
Well, thank you. And that's part of the reason we bought the building without knowing what we're going to do with it, because we just couldn't imagine seeing something else even close to it. But thank you.
Great.
Okay, now it's my turn. I asked the weird nitty gritty details. I went and looked at the building today, and the staircase is obviously gone. I wish you had a current photo of what it looks like, because there is, if you show can you show the interior courtyard elevations?
Yep.
There we go. Actually, the next slide,
Sorry, next slide after this.
yeah, it's the one that shows the
Okay.
interior of the south. I think.
Okay. Sorry.
There we go. Nope. Back one. It's the south elevation of the north wing.
Is this?
It's showing the one that shows the stairs that have been removed.
I think, and this isn't it?
Yes, that is. Okay,
Okay.
there we go.
Sorry.
Can I ask a quick, okay, you raised the parapet height to match the original kind of deck rail that's brick, that's subcoast standard, but existing. And you then below that is kind of a trimmed dentalion, and you continued that on the other side. Is there a reason that you did not continue that around on the south side when you enclosed that? Because it's only what, about 2 feet off there, but it doesn't go on the south side. Was it just easier to keep it flat, or there was?
Let me make sure that I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe I can.
Here,
No, I can't annotate.
well, let
okay.
me, so I'll try to keep this hand. So we continued this bas relief around just
Yeah.
as in line with the balcony wall. Are you talking about down here?
No, the second bas relief just below that.
Oh,
That
yes.
one. That one
Yes.
you continued over on the east face, but not on the south face. Is there a reason? Because there would be a little bit more continuity if you could
No.
continue that there.
No, there's no reason. That's a good idea.
Okay. And all of these doors, it was kind of hard to tell because a lot of them were like still either boarded up or whatever. Are they typically, are they typical single light doors? One above 1 or 2 panels or 3 panels, or are they 5-panel doors, or what are the exterior doors that you are restoring?
The interior are all 5-panel doors.
Okay.
There are a couple of slight modifications, or slight variations, I should say, in how deep the panels are. They're all 5-panel with raised interior panels. Actually, sorry, that's not true. Some of them have raised panels, some of them are flat. On the exterior, I believe it's mostly 5-panel doors, but with usually about a half light.
A half light?
Single pane window on the top half of the door.
Okay, so there's single light in the upper portion, and then a couple of panels below, and they kind of vary because they're from various vintages.
Yes.
Okay,
And
but they're all historically appropriate doors, even if they're not all matching.
yes, those, yeah, we've got interior wise, we've got a 27-inch wide door. This door that I've got my hand over, oops, sorry, is extremely narrow, but that's just what was there. But yeah, all sorts of different widths, some different variations in the raised panels, but all the same style, and none from anywhere other than the site.
We're really happy you're keeping all the original openings. I should say that right off the bat. And then there are some basically basement or crawl space vents, and most of them on the south and west side have metal grills in them, but there's one on the east side that's now entirely rotted out. The framing's gone, there's termite damage, and it's partially obscured by a change in level of the parking area. You're going to have to do some sort of vent there, or you won't get the cross ventilation for the building. So you may need to restore that. And I think we ought to add that in to a motion we make. And as long as the wall goes back the way it was, and you said that you still have the gate.
Yeah.
And you're keeping the trees, that's fine. And then we need to go back to that west elevation and just explain your thinking of why you did a single large half circle window and then 3 segments instead of a single segment when you framed in over the, there you go, the one with the arrow. Why did you choose 3 segments below and then a half circle as opposed to the other 1980s infill windows, which are 2 segments with obviously a stylized Palladian whatever that probably went along with the metal stuff? It's not,
Yeah.
those aren't historic, you don't have to
Right.
touch it, but
It's the
we're
smallest
approving a new
sunset.
thing and an enclosure here, so I just want to hear your thinking of why it got framed like that. Do 2 of them open?
The bottom triple pane opens out, which I think we got feedback from our contractor on this one. I think part of the intention was to mirror the open arches in that you have a large semicircular shape and then it's broken up towards the bottom by a horizontal line.
Okay.
Which
And
are
that's
the
an opening window and it's all a single window. So does it open out from the top or open up as a louver?
the top is fixed and the bottom is actually the louver that opens up. So that entire, these three panels are all fixed together and they open out, which is,
So it's an operable window.
it's an operable window. So supposedly that louvering style is an older style, is what I
Okay.
recollect, but I'm not intimately familiar with that.
Okay, so I assume it's so that there weren't huge expanses of glass and you broke it up so that the framing was structurally sound for it to be an operable window.
Yeah, to support that, you know, as you mentioned on the non-historic metalwork and window frames, it's not my favorite, but it's obviously there. And so I think our goal was to keep in line with some of the lines of the second floor and then kind of avoid that particular style for the second floor. But at the same time, yeah, you hit a limit of how big a window pane can be before it's just unmanageable.
Okay. The reason I'm asking these for the record, if anyone listens, we have to ask why you are enclosing, how you're enclosing for something that you did as a zoning violation, as if it was fresh and you were proposing it so that we can concur with what you're doing.
Absolutely.
That's all. I don't have any, other than that, I don't have any problems. I hope that we approve the enclosure of the second story balcony with the proposed window as shown on the plan, and that we encourage them to fix but retain the basement vents on the left and restore the wall to its prior configuration. But other than that, I think we can generally approve it as presented. Does someone want to make a motion with those three things? And I don't think we can require it, but it would be good if you added that kind of dentillion around the south side of the new stuff of the staircase.
Absolutely.
So that it kind of all matched visually.
That's a good call.
This is Helen. I will make that motion that John just described, plus recommending the trim.
I second.
I will second it.
Maurice, Stan beat you to it.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Second. Okay. Let's do roll call. I say yes. Tom?
Yes.
Okay. Sarah?
Aye.
Great. Helen?
I
Maurice?
All right.
Pat?
Aye.
Great. And Stan?
Aye.
Great. Passes 7-0. Good luck with it. Hopefully it can tidy up your zoning violation and you can move forward. It's nice to have thoughtful local owners for a building, and it looks like you're doing a thoughtful plan for it. And now you know the process in case you would need to come back for any potential changes. I'm glad to hear the sign's going to stay, and same with the palm trees.
Come on.
You may need to get with Michael can outline the next steps, but generally from here with once we write up a draft ALR and send a recommendation to plans review and the planning director, you go to PRS next. But
Okay.
Michael, do you want to do that or just make sure you meet with the applicant?
Yeah, it's just Kevin, I believe I've worked with you before. We did a minor review on that
Okay.
this property together. So your next step would be we are going to schedule this for plans review subcommittee meeting. We would also this plans review subcommittee, you are going to present the same plans that you are presenting here. They will make a similar recommendation as this board is making today. based on those two recommendations, the director is going to make the final decision. Once the decision is made, we're going to generate, once the decision is made, an approval letter will be sent to you. You attach that approval letter to all this, your plan set that you have submitted, and you should be able to proceed. In the meantime, you will contact code enforcement to let them know that you are in the process of doing the historic review process. They will either contact me or Jody, which we are going to confirm that you are actually in the process, and so they will not begin to follow you again. So, and then as soon as you start pulling your permit, the zoning violation will go away. And just for the future, since you own this property, if you do not know anything you want to do on the exterior, please just call our office. Even you are replacing the window, you are replacing the door, anything that has to do with the exterior, let us know. We'll be able to help you. Thank you.
Okay. And Morgan, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you can hear, and I hope you're pleased. We haven't heard your voice yet, but I think that's us for us. That's it for us. So we'll go on to the rest. Anything else?
I just want to say thank you so much for the consideration and all the information. Again, we should have done this in a different order, but appreciate your willingness to work with us, and I'm just blown away by all the knowledge.
I will send our Armory Park file on the property that shows the original 1908 photo of the building when it was brick and the history we have. I will send that to Michael so that he can send that directly to you, because you should have it.
Okay, thank you for reminding me.
Influence some of what you do.
I was gonna ask if you wanted my email, because I would love to see a 1908
John
photo.
will send it to us and we will forward it to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're welcome to contact me by email, but I'll send it to Michael and he can contact you, because that's the process the city's established.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Somebody on this meeting with the iPhone. Can we?
That's Pat.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep, Pat O'Brien.
Would you all like me to jump off at this point?
You're welcome to stay. We just basically have some housekeeping business, or you can leave. It's your choice.
All right. I'll take off and leave you to it in privacy. Thank you all. Really
good luck with your restoration, and welcome to the neighborhood for the 5th time.
It will be, I think the 3rd, but
so who gets the really big apartment?
Cannot wait. That's one of the partners as well. So we're taking 2 out of the 6. Basically, the only reason we have 6 instead of 2 or 3 is that we couldn't afford it otherwise. So
makes sense.
So, but otherwise we would have kept it all to ourselves. But we'll hopefully have some really great additional neighbors coming to the property, to the neighborhood. All right, thank you all.
Sure. Take care. Okay, item 5, design guidelines. I am still working on it. I'm hoping to get, yes, I know. I see your eyes looking at the ceiling, Tom Beal. And we're going to rope you in for a working group, which we'll probably need to do again to address these, even though I know your intention is to circle off.
I'm out of here at the end of the year.
Yeah. But the last couple of months have been really hairy with all sorts of other things, and IID design review and yada, yada, yada. So hopefully we will have a November meeting with something to talk about and discuss, even if there are not design review cases. So I encourage you all to join us for that. I expect we will also.
Mr. Chair, I think there may be some design review cases.
Oh, good. Then we'll be having one in November, but there may be some other things on the agenda that day. All right. Item 6, minor reviews. Okay, I have done 4 of them. On the 22nd of September, there was a re-shingle for a roof at 345 East 13th. It was approved. I just got the letter with the conditions today. It's pretty straightforward. And then there were 3 of them we did on the 6th of October. 720 South 2nd Avenue was for a solar. It was an extension of existing premises, adding more functionality and kilowatt hours to an older system. 408 East 16th was for shingle replacement. That was a fairly new roof that apparently got a downdraft where the hail just shredded their roof. So they're replacing, their insurance is covering it, and they're getting all new shingles, and they're about the same color as what's there. And then the third one was for a shed, and this one was a little bit troubling. It was at 218 East 17th Street because it turned out to be a shipping container. But it's fascinating because it's a really small shipping container that doesn't meet the permit requirements. There was a contributing garage on the site, but it was blown down due to an act of God. It was kind of a crappy frame and corrugated tin garage that was listed, but is no more. The fence was recreated out of those materials. A little portion of the cargo container's been on site for about 8 years, and it was turned in by a city inspector instead of neighbors. And the property owner owns the adjacent property, so it was approved to stay, not setting a precedent, and the upper part that is slightly visible above the fence line will also be covered with corrugated metal, so it should blend in and not be visible from the street any longer. So we have not set a precedent for shipping container in the neighborhood as being reasonable, approved sheds. There are a few of them dotted around who are there for various reasons. Some of us know more about them than others that, you know, may or may not be moving, changing, whatever over time, but it's not a standard shed design. I think that's it for minor reviews. Okay, item 7, call to the board. I guess I'll do round robin. Tom?
I got nothing.
Okay. Stan? Anything for us? Glad to finally see you join us. I hope you had a really nice vacation on a mountaintop somewhere for most of the summer, and maybe we can get back to business and other things. Maurice, anything?
Well, sun's up, the properties values are going back up again, so I'm happy. And I think it's going to go even higher. Some of my properties have never been that high. So the ones that went down 15, 20% are almost way back up. So it's all blue on the horizon.
Cool. Sarah?
Nothing here.
Pat?
Nothing else from me.
Okay, I know Helen's got a few things. Helen?
Actually, the only thing I have right now that's imminent is the preservation conference in a week, approximately a week and 2 days. And I think Maurice and John are doing the training. And
Yes.
Yes.
I will probably do the training as well, just to see what they're up to.
It's a 3-day conference, and there were some scholarships. I put names in for people who were interested, and Maurice actually got a whole bunch of information, but I called the coordinator, and Helen, we don't have to do anything. They know who we are. We just show up.
That was what I had heard earlier.
Yeah. So that's
Actually, unless you're willing to pay, I thought it was $325, but it's $295. You need to contact the conference coordinator, which appears in the invite. Okay, and she's going to need a copy of the email that we received from Jody that said that we're approved, okay, for scholarship. If you don't do that, okay, you're gonna get charged for it.
I think we're all right because we do have that and I confirmed it. And I actually talked to Carlotta today, so we're okay. You just got bonus material that we didn't because you called several people.
Yes, you did.
Dan, I know that the process of getting a scholarship to go to the conference wasn't really available because you were out of town. It's too late to add you for the scholarships. Those are filled, but they're the Arizona Preservation website for the you can Google 2023 Historic Preservation Conference and all the stuff is there. You may be interested in a couple of them, and I think there are small single fees for if you're interested in one or two or whatever, that we could do something with that. And if not, the neighborhood association could probably fund you if you want to take some classes.
All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. The only thing I've got going is mayor and council are coming up with new rules for hybridization for all boards and commissions, and they're going to vote on it tonight. We'll see. The Mike Rankin's ordinance that theoretically will be approved tonight is slightly different than what the city clerk thinks it is. So that should be fascinating over the next couple months. But yeah, I'm going to the conference. I don't know that I really have all that much. Thankfully, almost all the problems this month have been resolved. So hopefully we can all take off a few days and enjoy the nice fall weather. And I think that's it for me. Michael, do you have anything else?
Yeah, what I have for you is I think you have talked about the Historic Preservation Conference, which is what I was going to say, and I do encourage anybody who can attend to attend, because I think based on my experience, you are going to get good information from there as to how we should be running our meetings and all that kind of stuff. So it is a good idea to attend. Though not related to you, but the Fodlo Historic Zone Advisory Board appealed one of the directors' decision, and that appeal is going to be heard by Mayor and Council on November 14, 2023. If you are interested, you can show up to figure out what is going on. The material will be available. We are in the process of doing the staff report right now, but as soon as we get it ready, it will be posted on the city clerk's website. So that is coming around.
You think that's going to be on the 14th, Michael?
Yes, November 14, 2023. That is the date we have for right now. Except something happens. That is the date we have.
It's an interesting, it's an interesting one that brings up the issue that we all need to revise our design guidelines so that they're very specific. But that's all I'm going to say about it today.
Yeah, I'm just mentioning it as an appeal. I don't want to discuss the details of the case here because it doesn't really concern this board, but it's a general, should one day in the future the board wants to appeal a decision, here's what is going on. That's why I want the chair and all the board members to familiarize yourself with that process. And then the hybrid meetings, as John just said, myself and Judy and John will be, and
Sarah.
What's his name? We're going to
Fred Ronstadt and Sarah will be joining us.
Yeah, we're going to work on how we're going to see how we can work on the hybrid meetings formula. Fodlo is already doing it. Armory Park is thinking of doing it, but the instruction given to us from the city clerk's office is contradictory, because they say in one section that these hybrid meetings have to be held in the city-owned properties.
Well, actually, they say they should be done in the meeting, which is not compulsory, rather than must be in city-owned buildings. So that's open to interpretation. And trust me, mayor and council members have gotten bombarded with emails about some of the problems and hoping that they might put a pause on some of allowing the meetings to take place, but defining the rules down the road when some of them actually happen. So we'll see what they end up doing tonight. But we are pursuing it. We had hoped to have a hybrid meeting tonight, but we could, because the school was closed last week for fall break, we weren't able to get a test meeting going. But Sarah and I and Fred should be working with the staff. The city got hotspots, and Armory Park Neighborhood Association has all the equipment, including a camera and a voice and all the other stuff. So we should be able to have one where people who join us online can actually see us live having a meeting, and being able to have people say things that call to the audience and yada, yada, yada. So I'm hoping that the November agenda will reflect that, and I'll keep you appraised how we move forward and if the tests are successful. But we'll be doing that test in the next week, I expect.
Yes, our goal is to have that preparation done, and so that if you have a meeting in November, we may test it in the November meeting.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Okay.
And then going along, skipping ahead. That's all I have for this item.
All right, so you think we're gonna have a meeting? Anything else for future agenda or any minor reviews coming up, Michael?
For future agendas, I am actually working on 2 cases. You try to remember the flexible lot, this thing that was done at 811 to 8 something South 4th.
Yes.
So there is this application that came in 815 South 4th Avenue. Apparently, it's no longer Bill Mackey, but some architect came in and they are redesigning. It was already approved in the case of HPZ 1998, but when I reviewed the plans, the window styles is kind of different from what was actually approved. And so initially we had thought that, there was already an approval, we can just proceed to let it go ahead. But when I reviewed the plans, I discovered that they were changing the styles of the window from what was originally approved. And so we flagged it for that particular reason, and we're not calling out the materials that they were using. So they may or will be coming before you just for another review again. And after that, they go to PROS. That is 815 South 4th Avenue. That will be a full review. And then there's also 326 East 17th Street. They're proposing to put an ADU. So the application is not yet complete, but I'm hoping that they can complete it by the end of this month, so we can schedule them for the October meeting.
What's the address on that, Michael? 326?
326 East 17th Street.
Okay. Just a comment about the FLD. We reviewed all 7 projects way back when, and we approved individual designs for that, but it was pending that the FLD would be approved by mayor and council. That has been done. And so they have assigned addresses to all of those various lots. So this is for one of those to be built. But if it is anything other than the design that was approved, they do have to come to us.
Exactly. That is where we are on this one.
Okay.
The other elevation, the other window designs are fine. It is just one of the window design which is on the north elevation that is drastically different from the other window design. And so I just didn't feel comfortable passing that. They're not happy, but that's the way it is. For minor reviews, I do not have any at this point in time, but if I do, I will contact John.
Okay, great. All right. Anything else except, hey, we got rain in the neighborhood tonight. It's been going on while we're having this meeting. Hopefully we got some measurable amount. Didn't look like it there earlier. I think I'm done. Can we go ahead and adjourn the meeting here at 8:15? Wonderful. Sarah, you're gonna type up minutes and you can send them to me. And I'll take a look and send them on to Jody. And maybe we'll do it in a timely manner this month.
Okay, Mr. Chair, are we ready to close?
Yes, we're ready to close. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
I'm going to stop the recording.